My name is Arthur. I was 48 when my 21-year marriage to Cassandra officially imploded. We had built a life that from the outside looked like a success story. A comfortable home, 2 cars, and a daughter, Evelyn, who was off to college. I was an architect. She had run a successful interior design consultancy out of a shared office space. We had done well. Too well, it turned out, for her to want to share the spoils honestly when the time came to split. The divorce wasn't a mutual decision. It was Cassandra's unilateral, cold declaration one Tuesday night. No arguments, no shouting, just a statement that she was done and wanted to move on. That coldness was the first crack in the facade. The second came with the financial disclosures. In the initial paperwork, Cassandra presented herself as barely solvent. Her design business, which had paid for a good chunk of our luxurious vacations, was suddenly struggling. Our liquid assets, she claimed, were modest. Her current salary was just enough to scrape by. The woman who had insisted on $800 cashmere sweaters was now claiming poverty to the court. I looked at the documents, then at the name on the signature line, and felt the first true searing burn of betrayal. It wasn't just the lie, it was the sheer arrogance of it. She truly believed I was that stupid. I hired a decent, if conventional, divorce lawyer named Helen. Helen was good at process and negotiation, but she lacked the predatory instinct necessary for what I knew was coming. It's common, Arthur, she'd sigh, shuffling through papers. Wives underestimate, husbands overstate, will fight for a fair split. But this wasn't an underestimation. This was a systematic, deliberate effort to make me the primary earner for 2 decades, pay her alimony based on a fabricated narrative of her financial need, while she secretly walked away wealthy. I was paying for her divorce, her hidden accounts, and her new life. I spent the next 3 months staring at bank statements and business ledgers, trying to connect dots that she had carefully erased. I couldn't sleep. The emotional weight of the marriage ending was suddenly overshadowed by the adrenaline-fueled terror of financial ruin. I had worked too hard, sacrificed too much to be fleeced by the one person who was supposed to be my partner. I needed something more than Helen's polite legal letters. I needed a bulldozer. I remembered Julian. We had been roommates in college, and Julian had gone on to become one of the most respected forensic accountants in the city, the kind they call in on massive corporate fraud cases. He didn't just look at numbers. He looked at the asterisk story the numbers were telling and the stories they were hiding. I called him on a Sunday morning. He was fishing, which was typical Julian, calm, precise, methodical. I laid out the situation, the legal constraints, the impossibility of getting a court order to look in the places I suspected, and the tight timeline. Julian listened to the entire frantic monologue without interrupting. When I finished, the line was silent for a moment. Arthur, he finally said, his voice low and steady, you're paying a lawyer to ask for what's fair. You need someone to prove what's stolen. We met for coffee. I brought boxes of documents. Julian didn't look at the formal statements. He went straight for the expense reports, the business cash flow, the cancelled checks, and the small, seemingly insignificant wire transfers. He wasn't interested in the big accounts. He was interested in the breadcrumbs. She's too smart for a simple hiding place, Julian mused, running a finger over a series of $9,800 wire transfers from her consultancy to a holding company in Delaware, just under the $10,000 threshold that triggers automatic reporting. And she knows you'll focus on the local bank accounts. Cassandra's ambition, Arthur, is her biggest tell. She wouldn't settle for less than a clean break. Substantial hidden nest egg. Julian's plan was breathtaking in its audacity. He couldn't testify in court as my friend, and a formal forensic investigation was too slow, expensive, and legally constrained by what the judge would allow. So he wouldn't do a court-sanctioned audit. He would do a deep-dive, professional-grade financial investigation outside of the legal process. I won't be submitting my work product, he explained. I'm going to give you the exact trail, the smoking gun document, and the names. You will find a way to make it admissible as evidence you discovered. He smiled faintly, a conspiratorial glint in his eye. We don't need to be the police, Arthur. We just need to give the police in this case, the judge, the absolute, irrefutable proof they can't ignore. Julian worked for 3 weeks, nights and weekends on his own time. He was meticulous. He found patterns in the inventory expenses of her interior design firm, expenses for specialized furniture or imported fabrics that were never accounted for in her projects. The money wasn't being spent on goods, it was being routed. The trail led through a series of shell companies, set up by an old colleague of hers, ultimately leading to a single significant account in a small Caribbean island. It was a classic money laundering route, not for criminals, but for people seeking to shield assets from public or spousal eyes. The total balance was staggering, over $3 million. He didn't hand me printouts from the offshore bank. He handed me a single page, a heavily redacted but legally valid internal transfer receipt from a major U.S. bank to the island account, signed by Cassandra. The transfer was disguised as a loan repayment to one of her shell companies. It was the only way to get a U.S. bank document that proved she had intentionally moved the money. It was the key. This is the proof of the crime, Arthur, Julian said, placing the single sheet of paper in a manila folder. This single document, if legally presented, collapses her entire defense. It shows a **lie to the **judge an intentional act of fraud upon the court. The problem was, how could I have gotten that document? I was not a forensic accountant. I didn't have access to interbank transfer records. Helen, my lawyer, was horrified. Arthur, this is illegally obtained evidence. If we present this, we could be sanctioned, or worse, have the whole case thrown out. Then we don't present this, I countered, tapping the folder. We use this to get the judge to order the disclosure of the real documents. The final hearing was set for a Tuesday. Cassandra walked in wearing a perfectly tailored navy suit, looking every bit the wronged wife and sporting a calm, almost smug smile. She clearly believed she had won. Her lawyer, a man named Henderson who had a reputation for aggressive litigation, was equally confident. I sat beside Helen, feeling the sweat on my palms, the single manila folder heavy on the table. The judge, a formidable woman named Justice Reynolds, was already impatient with the length of the case. She began by addressing Cassandra's claim of needing substantial spousal support. Cassandra was called to the stand. Her testimony was a masterpiece of half-truths, feigned distress, and subtle manipulation. I simply cannot maintain my life without spousal support, she lamented, wiping a tear that never quite reached her cheek. I gave the best years of my life to our marriage and Arthur's career. Now I have nothing to show for it. Helen was a disaster in cross-examination, sticking to the standard script. Henderson smiled patronizingly at me. He was winning. Then it was my turn for direct questioning. I stood up, gripping the edge of the table. Mrs. Cole, I began, using her maiden name, a small necessary jab. You testified that the bulk of your business revenue was spent on legitimate operational costs. Is that accurate? Yes, Mr. Cole, every penny. Her eyes flickered with contempt. And you testified that you have no significant assets outside of what is listed in your statement of net worth. None. I have been completely honest with this court. The word honest was dripping with patronizing conviction. I picked up the manila folder. I didn't open it. I walked to the bailiff and handed him a sealed envelope that I had prepared, containing only Helen's motion for a discovery order based on newly uncovered evidence. Your Honor, I addressed Justice Reynolds. Due to a clerical error at my former primary bank, I recently received a large box of misplaced documents relating to a joint business account we held over 4 years ago. Within that box, I found something highly concerning. Henderson immediately stood up. Objection. Hearsay, Your Honor, and irrelevant joint accounts have been disclosed. Justice Reynolds leaned forward, intrigued by my deviation from Helen's plan. I'll allow it, Mr. Cole. Be quick and be relevant. I looked directly at Cassandra, my voice steady. Mrs. Cole, I believe this document shows a substantial transfer. I'm not going to present the document itself, Your Honor. I'm going to ask Mrs. Cole one final, very simple question, and I request that her answer be given under oath, fully cognizant of the penalties for lying to this court. The tension in the room was palpable. Cassandra's smugness had finally evaporated, replaced by a cold fear. Mrs. Cole, I paused for dramatic effect, letting the words sink in. Did you on or around the 15th of June 4 years ago sign an internal wire transfer instruction to move $3,150,000 to an account in the Cayman Islands? The air left her lungs. Her eyes widened, darting between me and her lawyer. Henderson was shouting, objection, speculation, move to strike. But the judge's gavel came down with a sharp crack asterisk. Answer the question, Mrs. Cole, Justice Reynolds commanded. Cassandra opened her mouth, trying to maintain the lie, but the weight of the moment, the specificity of the amount and the date, the sheer terror of being exposed on the record, collapsed her composure. She looked at me, her betrayer, her victim, and the mask completely fell off. She was reduced to a panicked woman caught red-handed. I can't recall, she stammered. Your Honor, I interjected, my voice rising in volume. The penalty for perjury is not I can't recall. I move that the court order an immediate court-appointed forensic audit of all accounts associated with Mrs. Cole, her business, and her holding companies. Based on a credible financial document I discovered that completely invalidates her testimony of need. The judge stared at Cassandra's trembling form. She didn't need to see Julian's proof. She had just witnessed her reaction. Justice Reynolds picked up the gavel. Motion granted. I'm now sealing the financial disclosure documents and ordering an immediate, independent, court-appointed special master to perform a full forensic audit. And Mrs. Cole, the penalty for fraud upon the court is severe. This matter is now adjourned. Cassandra never got her chance to testify again. Julian's meticulous work, which had given me the single critical detail, the exact transfer amount and date, was enough for the court-appointed auditor. Once the auditor started, they found the rest. Shell corporations, the disguised loan repayment, the $3 million account, everything. The final judgment was a swift and complete victory for me. Justice Reynolds didn't just deny Cassandra spousal support. She awarded me disproportionate division of the remaining marital assets to compensate for the legal fees and the cost of the forensic audit. She also leveled a fine against Cassandra for filing a knowingly fraudulent financial disclosure. Cassandra tried to appeal, but her lawyer knew it was a lost cause. She had lied under oath to the Judge ***, and her 3 million secret was now fully exposed ***. The woman who had planned to walk away financially whole was now forced to liquidate property just to pay the fines and my legal costs. She hadn't just lost the money, she had lost her reputation and the faith of her peers. Her business, dependent on high-end clients, collapsed under the weight of the public filing. Julian and I celebrated with a beer, a quiet, simple moment. I thanked him for saving me. "You saved yourself, Arthur," he corrected, raising his glass. "I just handed you the key. You were the one brave enough to walk up to the cage and put it in the lock." I walked away from the marriage not just financially intact, but with a profound, terrifying lesson. Betrayal is not always a loud, dramatic explosion. Sometimes it's a cold, silent number in a column on a financial disclosure form. But the retribution, when it comes, can be a sudden, powerful, and decisive moment of justice. I didn't get revenge, I got the truth, and the truth, when backed by the right evidence is the ultimate weapon. I took back my future from a woman who had tried to steal it, one arrogant lie at a time.